Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 4 of October 2025. Tata Trusts faces a crucial week as trustee terms for Venu Srinivasan and Mehli Mistry are up for renewal. These appointments are effectively for life and requires unanimous trustee approval. Divisions within the trusts have lately caused contention. The government is keen on stability at Tata Sons, which is 66% owned by Tata Trusts. Brookfield is making a strategic leap into Indian logistics market by acquiring a substantial portfolio that spans 13 million square feet sourced from a partnership between ESR and Alliance, alongside additional standout ESR assets. This strategic acquisition signals Brookfield's commitment to tapping into India's growing logistics and warehousing market, reflecting a robust institutional interest in the industry. Emirates NBD is acquiring a 60% stake in RBL Bank for $3 billion. This significant deal will allow RBL Bank to launch a wealth management business. The transaction is expected to be completed in 5 to 7 months. RBL Bank will become listed subsidiary of Emirates NBD. This move strengthens India's mid-sized banks and attracts foreign investment. The Goods and Services Tax Network or GSTN has released a comprehensive set of frequently asked questions or FAQs along with detailed responses to facilitate the accurate filing of the annual return or Form GSTR 9 and the reconciliation statement or Form GSTR 9C for the financial year 2024-25. The FAQ document aims to help taxpayers understand the procedural and technical aspects of filing annual returns, ensuring accuracy, consistency, and compliance. It serves as a ready reference for addressing common doubts and challenges faced during the filing process. Non-metro cities drove this year's online Diwali shopping boom, accounting for nearly 3/4 of total e-commerce volume, with Tier 3 cities contributing over 50% according to industry data. Cash on delivery remained the preferred method in Tier 3 cities, comprising 52% of orders, even as prepaid digital payments dominated higher value transactions nationwide. E-commerce platform Meesho has filed its updated draft Red Herring Prospectus or UDRHP with the Securities and Exchange Board of India or SEBI, gearing up for its public debut. Through this IPO, the Bengaluru company plans to raise up to Rs 4,250 crore through fresh issue of equity shares, along with an offer for sale of up to 17.56 crore shares by existing shareholders. Meesho's IPO follows its strong financial performance in financial year 25, which saw the company consolidate its position as India's largest e-commerce platform by annual transacting users and placed orders. The platform connected over 5 lakh sellers with around 199 million transacting users, enabling 1.8 billion placed orders during the year. Indian players are now using cryptocurrencies to bet on offshore real money gaming sites. This trend emerges as a way to avoid banking channels and evade regulations. Players are depositing crypto with offshore bookmakers in Curacao for games like poker and rummy. This practice allows for untracked transactions and potential tax evasion. Punjab National Bank anticipates a 90 billion rupee impact from new credit loss rules by 2031. The Reserve Bank of India's expected credit loss framework requires banks to set aside funds for potential defaults. This transition will affect the bank's capital to risk assets ratio. However, Punjab National Bank expects to manage these requirements through its operational profits. Indian banks are attracting significant foreign investment, with billions of dollars flowing into the sector. Deals worth approximately $15 billion have been struck this year. Global investors are seeking opportunities in India's rapidly growing economy. This trend highlights the country's stable financial system and robust regulators. Policymakers are also exploring ways to further encourage foreign investment. India's automobile exports rose 26% year-on-year in the September quarter, marking record high shipments across passenger vehicles, two-wheelers and three-wheelers, according to data from Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers or SIAM. Bengaluru-based logistics firm Shadowfax Technologies has received the Securities and Exchange Board of India's approval to proceed with its initial public offering, marking a major step towards its public listing. The company operates a technology-driven logistics platform covering e-commerce express parcels, quick commerce and hyperlocal delivery, with its revenue majorly derived from the e-commerce segment. Reliance Retail has operationalized over 600 dark stores pan-India and plans to add more to enhance its coverage of less than 30-minute deliveries across its extensive network. Its e-commerce platform JioMart, which is competing with quick commerce players such as Zomato-owned Blinkit, Swiggy Instamart and Big Basket, has probably become the largest in the country with its vast network and strategically located dark stores. Amazon executives believe the company is poised to replace over 500,000 jobs with robots, aiming to automate 75% of its operations. This strategic shift, driven by efficiency and cost savings, could transform Amazon from a major job creator into a net job destroyer in the US workforce. Semiconductor firms are intensifying campus hiring by partnering with premier institutions like IITs and NITs, focusing on specialized talent. Initiatives like Delta Class and joint research facilities with Marvel and Renesas are bridging the skills gap. Universities are also offering specialized courses with top fresher roles commanding attractive salaries. According to a report of an industry body, Diwali sales in 2025 touched a record Rs 6.05 lakh crore, led by GST rate cuts and strong demand for local or Swadeshi products. This year's Diwali sales, which was 25% higher than last year, included Rs 5.4 lakh crore in goods and Rs 65,000 crore in services. Almost 85% of the total trade in 2025 came from physical markets and smaller traders, marking a comeback for traditional trade that has seen a slowdown in recent years due to the rise of e-commerce and quick commerce. Rural and semi-urban India accounted for 28% of total trade, confirming deeper economic participation beyond metros. The public and private defense sector companies are seeing a significant boost in their order book as India pushes for local defense manufacturing. According to Nuvama Institutional Equities, the industry is riding a high growth wave and is entering one of its strongest upcycles yet. Backed by a Rs 10 lakh crore pipeline across defense public sector undertakings and a 15-year defense roadmap, key defense manufacturing programs such as Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, P-75 submarine program and others are seeing a pooling of expertise and resources from public sector companies such as Hindustan Aeronautics, Mazgaon Dock Shipyard and private sector companies such as Larsen & Toubro, Tata Advanced Systems and Adani Defence and Aerospace. A SEBI-constituted working group is proposing to increase transaction charges for clearing corporations like NSE Clearing. This move aims to bolster their financial independence and strengthen their balance sheets, potentially impacting NSE's standalone earnings ahead of its IPO. Clearing members may also contribute to the Settlement Guarantee Fund. 5 years after taking over the troubled Lakshmi Vilas Bank, Singapore's banking major DBS has built a strong base for steady growth in India, CEO Rajat Verma said. The bank plans to significantly boost retail and SME banking, aiming for these segments to eventually comprise over 50% of its loan book. The bank is focusing on growth in gold loans and mortgages alongside expanding its corporate and wealth management offerings, leveraging its global expertise. India is strengthening its trade with Russia, diversifying beyond energy to sectors like agriculture and pharmaceuticals, despite US pressure. This strategic move includes a significant defense pact for S-400 missile procurement. India is in discussions with Russia for a Rs 10,000 crore deal to procure missiles for its S-400 Sudarshan air defense systems. Exporters are adapting to US tariffs by expanding markets, showing resilience and a broader trade strategy. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon announced a $1.5 trillion decade-long investment initiative to strengthen America's industrial base and reduce foreign supply chain reliance. The Security and Resiliency Initiative will focus on defense, frontier technologies, energy, and advanced manufacturing, with JP Morgan committing $10 billion to start. Dimon stressed the urgency of this national security imperative. Global aerospace giants are increasingly sourcing from India, fueling significant growth in the nation's aircraft component sector. Domestic firms are expanding, moving towards higher value production and exploring acquisitions. Strong order books are boosting revenues, with companies preparing for substantial IPOs. This trend positions India to capture a larger share of the global aerospace supply chain in the coming years. India's IT hiring landscape in the first half of this fiscal, that is H1 of financial year 26, reflects a period of steady recalibration as technology firms' campus intake has improved by 25% compared to H1 of financial year 25, with major IT players resuming engagements across key engineering and technical institutes, data from a report showed on Wednesday. Demand for engineering, technical, and AI profiles has risen by 27% during the period, with compensation levels improving by 5% compared to H1 of financial year 25. Most campus hires are being deployed across Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune, and the National Capital Region, alongside a 7% increase in placements across Tier 2 cities such as Coimbatore, Udaipur, Nagpur, Visakhapatnam, and Indore. India's steel sector faced significant headwinds due to cheap imports and dumping from major global steel producers during 2023-24 and 2024-25, RBI's latest bulletin said, as it called for policy support to boost the competitiveness of domestic steel production. Factors have affected domestic market share, lowered capacity utilization, and added pressure on domestic producers, it said, adding that the pricing strategies of exporting nations remain a concern for the steel industry. Further, the imposition of new tariff on steel imports by the US enhances the threat of dumping, it said. Hoteliers bet on mid-market segment with big investment. Only a few weeks before the reduction of GST on mid-market hotels, India's top two hotel companies, Marriott and Indian Hotels Company, bought equity stakes in companies that own or manage hotels in the mid-market segment. For the first time in over a decade, India's planned supply of branded hotel rooms has crossed 100,000 mark. Mid-market and upper mid-market hotels are those that typically charge between Rs 4,000 to Rs 8,000 per night. What could give a boost to this segment is the reduction of goods and services tax to 5% from 12% for tariffs up to Rs 7,500. All other segments attract 18% GST. US-based Starlink plans to set up 9 gateway Earth stations across India, including in Mumbai, Noida, Chandigarh, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Lucknow, as the Elon Musk-owned company readies infrastructure ahead of the commercial launch of its satellite communication or SATCOM services in the country. Starlink is the third company after Bharti Group-backed Etisalat OneWeb and Reliance Jio's satellite entity JioSatellite to be given airwaves for demonstrating security compliances. So far, none of the companies has secured approval from the security agencies. All three have received the required permits to launch SATCOM services in the country and are awaiting spectrum allocation for the purpose. The government will likely amend the law governing the chartered accountancy profession to ease restrictions on these professionals and their firms to advertise themselves, in a significant change aimed at enabling them to draw assignments better by showcasing their services and grow. Indian crypto exchange WazirX will restart its operations on October 24th, following a cyber attack that resulted in the loss of $230 million worth of assets in July last year. The company completed its restructuring process after the Singapore High Court sanctioned the creditor-approved restructuring scheme proposed by Zetai Pte Limited, the company overseeing WazirX's revival. This comes after 95.7% of voting creditors, representing 94.6% of the total creditor value, voted in favor of the scheme. As part of the restarting offer, the company is offering its users 0% trading fees across all trading pairs. Maruti Suzuki's market share has dropped to an all-time low. The H1 financial year 26 sales data shared by the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers shows that the country's largest car maker had a market share of just 38.8%, the first time it has dropped below 40%, despite the fact that the car maker has had a spate of launches over the last few years, including 5 new generation models, 5 all-new models, and facelifts of existing cars. Gujarat-based Balaji Wafers is in the final stages of a stake sale, with Kedara Capital and General Atlantic leading the race to acquire 6 to 7% of the company, which is valued at Rs 35,000 to 40,000 crore. The packaged food major had initially planned to sell up to a 10% stake and had engaged with at least 10 private equity firms last month, including Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, KKR & Co., Bain & Company, Carlyle and TPG. US-based Avenue Capital Group and State Bank of India promoted Asset Reconstruction Company India Limited or ARCIL has received approval from the Securities and Exchange Board of India for its initial public offering. Once listed, ARCIL will become the first asset reconstruction company in the country to be publicly traded. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has issued a directive. Mutual funds can no longer invest in pre-IPO share placements. They are now restricted to participating only in the anchor investor portion or the public issue of an initial public offering. This clarification aims to prevent mutual funds from holding unlisted shares. India's third-party logistics sector is undergoing transformative growth driven by booming e-commerce, infrastructure upgrades, and evolving supply chain needs. The market is estimated at around $36 billion in 2025, with projections ranging between $48 billion and $73 billion by 2030, growing annually at a 6 to 4% CAGR. US tech giant Google has secured a significant office space of 617,000 square feet in Gurugram. This major deal at Atrium Place highlights Google's expanding presence in India. The company is committed to growing its operations and office footprint. This move follows previous leasing activities by Google in the region. The deal follows a 550,000 square feet lease by Google from managed workspace provider Tablespace at a commercial complex in Gurugram. Reliance Industries and Facebook's Indian arm have formed a joint venture, Reliance Enterprise Intelligence Limited, to develop and distribute enterprise AI services. The new entity, with an initial investment of Rs 855 crore, will see Reliance Intelligence hold a 70% stake and Facebook Overseas Inc. hold 30%. Pushing ahead with efforts to create homegrown big audit firms, ICAI plans to amend its code of ethics to provide more leeway for chartered accountants in terms of issuing advertisements and maintaining their own websites, among other activities. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India will release the exposure draft on the many changes proposed to the Code of Ethics, its President Charanjot Singh Nanda said at a briefing here on Friday. India's real estate sector is witnessing a phase of accelerated institutionalization as investors, developers, and funds increase participation across platforms, assets, and capital market instruments, culminating in a record performance in September quarter with the highest ever quarterly deal volume and value. The July to September quarter was a landmark period for India's real estate industry, marking the highest level of institutional investment ever recorded. Investors flocked from various sectors, engaging in a total of 42 transactions that collectively reached $2.9 billion.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.